I was a heavy daily wine drinker for around 30 years. Every single day, anything between 1 and 3 bottles of red wine, often with beer on top. And I was recently thinking to myself, how did I actually get addicted to red wine? How did I get addicted to alcohol? Was there a point in time where I went from being in control of my drinking to no longer being in control, where it had control over me? And that's what we're going to look at today. I'm Simon Chapple, the Quit Alcohol Coach, and I'm here to help you master sobriety and change your life. So I started drinking when I was about 14 years old. My friends and I would often go to the store. We'd send in the oldest one and he would go and buy some beer or some spirits, and then we'd go back to a friend's house and often spend the day drinking. I didn't really notice at the time, but I was always the one who was drinking the most, who was the first to start and the last to finish. I always just wanted to carry on. And I didn't know this either at the time, but I've had ADHD all my life. I was only diagnosed with ADHD as an adult, and I also experienced sexual abuse in my teenage years, and I suffered from childhood emotional neglect as well. My father abandoned me, and my mother was kind of emotionally absent too. So all of those things were going on for me. I didn't even recognise that. What teenager does? When I drank alcohol, it felt like something shifted in me. Suddenly I felt normal again. I felt like I fitted in. All of my worries, the worries I didn't even understand, they felt like they melted away. And of course that gave me a big hit of dopamine. It felt good and I wanted more of it. I wanted to feel that feeling again because I didn't know it, but I wanted to change the way I felt. I wasn't happy with the way I felt. And that was the problem. That was the root of the problem, was that I didn't like the way I was feeling. So instead of looking at how I was feeling, which I don't think many teenagers are equipped to do, I changed the way I felt. I didn't want to look any closer. But as I moved into adulthood, that habit became a real problem. I'd associated alcohol as providing so many benefits. I thought I couldn't have fun unless I drank. I couldn't ease my anxiety unless I had wine. I couldn't relax or de-stress or unwind without drinking. And all of these associations had become incredibly strong. I couldn't have a night out unless I drank. I couldn't do anything unless I drank. I couldn't go on holiday. I couldn't go on an airline flight. You name it, everything had an association with alcohol. And therefore I found myself putting alcohol in front of everything in my life. If I was going anywhere, doing anything, I always had to make sure I'd get my supply of alcohol. And I went to great lengths to do it, hiding wine boxes in my suitcase on a trip to Dubai, and it got found by security. You name it, I would go out of my way to make sure I always got my booze, paying extra to upgrade on flights just because the alcohol was free and I could get served more often. Whatever it was, I had to make sure that I got my fix of alcohol. And this was all about changing the way that I felt. I wanted to change the way I felt without ever looking at why I felt the way I felt in the first place. It seems so obvious now, but at the time it was the only way that I knew how. And that's how I'm able to kind of forgive myself and not hang on to shame or guilt about my past behaviour, because I was doing the best I could with what I knew at the time. Thankfully, I know differently now. I've learned so much on this incredible journey of sobriety that I've learned to look at those feelings. I've learned to address them. And you can look at some of my other videos that will teach you how to do the same thing. And I want that for you. I want you to learn how to master sobriety and how to completely change your life. Or MSCYL for short. I'm going to start using that as a hashtag because that's what I want for everybody who's part of my YouTube community, part of my Facebook groups, or belongs to my online stop drinking program. Now, let's get back to the point in time where I think I got addicted. I actually don't think it was long after I stopped drinking. For me, that feeling was so enormous. It was so far removed from how I'd been feeling in myself, which was anxious, depressed, down and generally unhappy that I just wanted more of it. And it was probably when I was around 16 or 17, I started taking the remains of my dad's red wine to my bedroom, and I was drinking that most days. He was a daily wine drinker and I was becoming exactly the same. I thought it was sophisticated and it was cool. I wanted to be just like him. So I absolutely started doing the same thing. I would take that wine to my bedroom and I would polish it off. I'd finish it. And it wasn't long before I could easily get my hands on my own alcohol, and I found myself drinking every day. Things went up a level when I hit 25. That was when I moved into my first home, and that was when it was easy. I could buy wine boxes, bottles of wine, bottles of beer, you name it. And that was when I was fully dedicated to drinking every single day. I would mostly drink at home, but occasionally I would go out and I'd make sure I drank there too. I think that says a lot about the shame that I did carry around my drinking, because I chose to do it behind closed doors. I didn't often go out and get drunk in public. In fact, sometimes when I went out, I would hold back on my drinking and I wouldn't drink too much, and then I would let myself go when I got back home. It felt very much like a ritual that I had to repeat on a daily basis. It got to the early evening, I had to have my red wine. It was my way of soothing myself, and I would drink until it ran out. I would just keep going. And really that went on until I was over 40 years old. It was only when I started to pay attention to the impact that alcohol was having on my life, my relationships, my career, my health, my ability to parent, you name it. It was affecting all of those areas, but I'd never really looked closely. Thankfully, I didn't hit a rock bottom. It didn't end in divorce. I didn't end in jail. I didn't wind up going to hospital, but that could easily have happened. Luckily, I started to shine a light on exactly what was going on. I looked closer, I started to explore, and then I started to get the truth around exactly what was happening in my own experience. And that allowed me to start having breakthroughs, to start looking at what an alcohol-free life might hold for me, realizing that actually, instead of changing the way I felt, I needed to look at why I felt the way I felt and learn how to manage those feelings, how to change them in a healthy way rather than using an addictive coping mechanism. And that's exactly what I did. And from there, as I say, I went on to write books, I've become a sobriety coach, and thankfully I've got the most amazing community that if you're watching this, you're probably part of. If you're not, hit the subscribe button. You're going to learn so much if you join my community. Hit the subscribe button and the bell icon. I put out new videos every Tuesday and every Thursday, and it's all about learning to help you change your life by mastering sobriety. So that's a little bit about how I ended up getting addicted. Leave a comment below. When do you think you got addicted to alcohol? What was your story? Was it in your teenage years, or was it when you were a little bit older? And if you're new to sobriety, like if you're exploring it, or if you're sober curious, you don't really know where to go from here, I've made a playlist just for you. You can click on that right now and it will take you to the playlist that I've put together with videos to help people navigate the early days, the early weeks and the early months of sobriety. That's really going to set you up for success if you're in the early stages of this journey. So definitely check that out. So until next time, keep working on your sobriety, keep mastering it and keep on changing your life, because that's what's going to happen if you choose to adopt the awesome alcohol-free lifestyle. See you next time.